The Umpire Inspire podcast is all about the stories, all about the journeys, and all about the heart of being an umpire. I'm your host, Jason Becker. Hi everybody, Jason here. Thank you for listening today. Hey, if you're checking out the show for the very first time, welcome. Really glad to have you. I would like to direct you over to umpireinspire.com, where you can listen to all our conversations with other terrific baseball and softball umpires from Little League, NCAA, minor leagues, and even Major League Baseball. And if you enjoy the show and would like to be a part of its creation, you can find out how to do that by becoming a contributor on Patreon. For you new listeners and for you who have been around from the beginning, please email me anytime at jason@umpireinspire.com. I like hearing your feedback and what you think of the show, suggestions you have, and just getting to know you a little bit. And hey, if you have just 2 minutes, leave a rating and a brief and honest review at Apple Podcasts, so other umpires can find the show and be encouraged by our guests, just like you and I are every week. Nathan Diederich was just 18 years old when he was hired into minor league baseball. 18! Man. That first year, yeah, he was the youngest of 200 plus umpires in the minor league system. And not only for that first year, but for his second year as well. His strong work on the field and his demeanor and approach off the field went on to earn him advancements through six leagues in his first 3 years. And in 2020, he was to work in the Midwest League, where we do hope to see him get right back to it next season. In this conversation, you're going to hear that at the young age of 21, Nate already has the gift of drawing some very perceptive and important lessons from the experience he's had and from the people he's come into contact with. And he shares some really great stories with us. He's just got a wonderful attitude toward his career, and like so many other of the terrific guests we've been lucky to visit with on this show, I think you're going to find him to be a very easy guy to root for as he makes his way toward the big leagues. Please enjoy my conversation with Nathan Diederich. Nate, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for having me.
It's awesome. It's been a little over a year since you and I ran into one another, Nate, down in San Bernardino, California, and where I was an attendee at a Little League weekend clinic, and you were an instructor. But there was a downside to that, Nate, and I don't know if you remember what this was. You were there mostly to work with the big field guys. And by big field, I'm referring to intermediate juniors and seniors baseball on the Little League side. And I was there as a juniors softball umpire over on the 60-foot diamond. So I didn't get to work with you that much, buddy.
Yeah. It's that's actually something I changed the next time I went down there and taught at the week long. I asked the staff if I could teach a little bit on the 60-foot diamond, and they were crazy enough to say yes.
Well, that's good. I'm actually really glad to hear that. I remember really enjoying you in our classroom setting. Of course, we spend a lot of time in the classroom going over rules and game management and all that. But I was definitely bummed to not get the chance to work with you on the field. So maybe we'll get to that in the future sometime, Nate. We'll see how things go.
Yeah.
How exactly are you involved with Little League? How did you get connected with the West Region guys and come to be a part of the instructional crew down there?
I grew up umpiring Little League baseball when I was 13, and at that age, I'd reached out to Mark Bernstein a little bit later when I was 14 or 15, and I talked to him about potentially, my dream of getting into professional baseball, and he connected me with Mike Casciopo, who was a AA and eventually a AAA guy at the time, and I kind of kept in contact with Mark, and once I got hired into professional baseball, he invited me back to instruct, and that's something I had always wanted to do because I felt like that the volunteers that helped me get my start in umpiring, I felt like I had the chance to give back to those that helped me.
That's awesome. And let me back up just a minute here. Did I just hear you say that at 13, 14 years old, you were already starting to have the dream and the goal of being a professional umpire?
Yeah, that was kind of what I
Wow.
wanted to do. I wasn't good enough to play. I played a lot on the bench, and so I just watched the umpires, and pretty soon I got an itch for it.
So think back to when you were a teenager. What was it about umpiring that appealed to you?
A little bit of the responsibility aspect of it.
Okay.
One of my mentors that got me into umpiring says that at 13, 14 years old, you may have to be the most mature person on the field. And so that responsibility really appealed to me. And that's kind of how I got the start. My first year was at 13. And I started working in California District 49 in Victorville. It was Spring Valley Lake Little League, and our district administrator, he was a young umpire, and he really saw a lot of talent in young umpires, and he wasn't afraid to give them all-star spots. So that first year, he decided to put me on a state tournament, a big league softball state tournament.
Oh, man.
Which was kind of eye-opening for me. Thankfully, he didn't put me on the plate. I worked second and third base, but it was nice for someone, to feel like someone trusts you. They trust you enough to put you in a situation where the participants are 7 years older than I am. Because at the time, Little League had the big league division, which were 17 and 18-year-olds. And so to be in that position at 13 was quite eye-opening and a little nerve-wracking, but we made it through.
Sounds like a great start. And a common theme on this show that I hear from just about everybody, Nate, is the mentors that first recognized something in us and took the time to share what they know and to pay forward their experience and to really seek out opportunities for us to get out on the field. And it sounds like you had somebody like that in your district UIC.
Yeah, his name's James Baxter. He it's funny, when I was 10 years old, I actually caught in front of him playing
Excellent.
softball. Yeah, and so and it's funny how this worked out, because we actually interleagued with his league, so I actually didn't get to see him for 2 or 3 years. And then I was working an all-star game my first year, and I ran into him at a different park because he was working an all-star game, and I got to reintroduce myself, and since then we've been good friends. He's one of my best friends now. He's like a second father to me.
Wow.
But yeah, he really gave me the itch to start umpiring, and I'll be forever thankful to him for that.
That's awesome. Well, wherever you are, James, thank you for doing your part. I love hearing stories like that. Well, Nate, tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself. Heard a little bit already about your umpire beginnings, but how old are you now? Where are you at? And what is your current work situation before we get into a little bit about the journey that brought you there?
Well, I'm 21 years old from Victorville, California, and I got hired into professional baseball at 18. I was very fortunate and thankful for getting the opportunity to get hired at such a young age. My current work situation is Uber and Lyft, thanks to the pandemic. But outside of that, I was assigned to be in the Midwest League this year, and that was obviously put on hold. But yeah, so I'll be, when we return in 2021, I'll be assigned to the Midwest League.
Can you explain, Nate, what it means to get hired into minor league baseball so soon after graduation? Can you explain to listeners exactly how a kid like you would be hired by minor league baseball and start that journey right out of high school?
Sure, it's actually quite the process, and it's not every day that that minor league baseball decides to give 18-year-olds jobs. As a matter of fact, I was the youngest umpire on the staff of 220 for my first 2 years.
Wow.
They didn't hire any 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds in my first 2 years. But outside of that, basically you go to umpire school for a month, and there you take it in and you learn as much as you can. You leave it all out on the field, and you kind of let the chips fall where they may at the end of it. They saw something, and like I said, I'll always be grateful for the opportunity to get in that at that age.
What was it about your performance that month at umpire school that caught the instructors and the evaluators' eye? What do you think it was that earned you that job?
Well, it all kind of goes back to a saying that mentor James has. If you work twice as hard and expect half as much, you'll never be disappointed. And I think I really stuck with that during my month at umpire school. The other thing I did is I always tried to stay, if I could, at the back of the line and listen to the instructors at the line, because they always try to teach not just the umpire doing the rep, but also the umpires in line. And I think having those mental reps really helped me. So when I got to the front of the line, I wouldn't make, I wouldn't say mistakes, but I would be progressive in my mistakes.
That sounds like awesome advice. It's not just when you step to the front of the line and get your rep in that you're learning. It's the whole time, right?
Absolutely. I remember a time at umpire school very well where one of our supervisors was telling us, the second the ball passes, you cut across the working area. And he went through that probably 4 times with the umpires before me. So I made sure when I got up to that point that, once the ball passed me, I was busting my butt across the working area. And when I got back, that supervisor said, "See, now you look like $1 million." Nice. So I think definitely listening and applying what you hear and just being a sponge will really help young students at umpire school. It shows instructors that you're not just there for the one rep, you're actually there to put in the work, and that goes a long way with instructors.
So where did you go, Nate, after first being hired? And can you just tell us a little bit about your progression these last few years up to your Midwest League assignment?
Sure. So obviously we do the month long at umpire school. Then you go to a week-long advanced course that minor league baseball puts on. And out of that advanced course, you're going to get basically 3 options. You're hired into minor league baseball, you're hired into the Coastal Plain League, which is what I got, or you're on the reserve list. And the Coastal Plain League is a college wood bat league that minor league baseball supplies umpires for that just missed getting into professional baseball.
Okay.
And looking back on it, that was probably the best place for me to go. Being so young and being so inexperienced at umpiring, looking back, that was probably the best place for me.
From a mechanical standpoint or from a maturity standpoint, maybe? Definitely
a maturity standpoint. Coming out of umpire school, I was very mechanically sound. Looking back at video and evaluations and things like that. But I really had to mature. Just coming out of high school, a young kid, I really needed to know what life was like on the road before going to rookie ball, and the Coastal Plain League offers that and then some. In the Coastal Plain League, we travel every day. So we do one game in a city and then go to the next city. It's summer baseball for college players, and for those that don't know, the college summer season's a little bit more relaxed, and there's a lot less restrictions on situation management than during the regular season. So chastising umpires is kind of the norm, so dealing with situation management in that league really helped me in my progression, and it's something I look back on and know it really helped in my advancement.
Was it tough for you as an 18-year-old, or did you feel pretty strong from the get-go? I hear you saying that game management with these young players was a challenge. I hear you saying that this kind of travel for the first time was a challenge and would be for any teenager. How did you handle that year?
Well, thankfully, I was only in the league for 3 or 4 weeks because I was promoted to the Arizona League before the season actually started. But that month in the CPL was definitely a challenge, and I think it's meant to be that way. Right. To at least for me, to get the maturity level up, and for me it was difficult proving that I belonged on the field. And looking back, was I the best umpire? Probably not. And I can guarantee you that. Just looking back on video that I've seen from the CPL, and even situation management, my confidence just really wasn't there at that time. And thankfully, being in that league helped me with that, and it's helped me throughout the next couple of years as well. But yeah, no, it was definitely an eye-opening experience, and something I'll always be thankful for.
So you get up to Arizona League, Nate, and golly, you're just moving right on through after that. Isn't that true? I know you've got a couple stops along the way after that. Was it a similar case of you just showing up, putting your work in, being noticed, and then moving along to the next step?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of that, and a little bit of showing improvement on what supervisors were suggesting.
Okay.
In order to progress, you don't necessarily have to be the best umpire at that classification. You just have to be better than you were when you got to that classification, and take the suggestions that the supervisors give, and even your partners, to make you a better umpire. And if you do that, then the system is set up for you to progress. But going back to your original question, I spent my first year in the Coastal Plain League and the Arizona League. And then after the Arizona League, I was promoted to the Appalachian League, where I spent the only league where I spent the entire season in one league. And then in the off season, I went to the Florida Instructional League, which was also big for my progression. And then I went to extended spring training after that the next year, and went to the Northwest League and got promoted about halfway through to the Midwest. So that's my journey.
So Nate, what does that look like exactly on a game-by-game basis? Let's say you're back at the Appalachian League or Florida Instructional, and you've got an evaluator who's telling you, hey, we want to see this from you. Do those conversations happen on a game-by-game basis?
It may not be game by game, but it may be evaluation by evaluation. Okay. Because it's rare that you see the same evaluator in consecutive evaluations. You may see him one day on the plate and the next day on the bases, but it's rare that you actually get to see the same evaluator twice in the same situation consecutively.
Oh, okay.
But with that being said, the supervisors talk to each other.
Yeah.
And I can recall matter of fact, this is a situation where I was promoted and the supervisors from different classifications were talking to each other. It was about my running style and how I needed to relax a little bit. The supervisor in the Northwest League thought that my running style was a little bit over hustling, fake hustle. And when I got promoted to the Midwest League, the supervisor asked, he said, what did so-and-so say about your running style? And I said, it was over hustling. He goes, oh, okay. Well, just to let you know, it looks pretty good now. So I sent him a message. And again, going back to what I said earlier, that's what helps you progress is implementing those suggestions. And that's something that was highlighted in one of my evaluations was throughout my career, it's been noted that I implement suggestions from supervisors, and that really helps.
That's a good quality to have, pal.
Yeah.
That's going to serve you well. So Nate, I'm curious. I'm counting, let's see, 6 different leagues you've worked in the past few years. What are some of the differences? Style of play or the quality of play, or really what I'm asking is the experience for you as a young umpire working his way up?
Sure. Well, in rookie ball, which is the Arizona League, and rookie advance, which was the Appalachian League, you get a lot of first year players, and a lot of them haven't really been put into a position yet. You may have a converted left fielder that's now a catcher, or a converted pitcher that's now an infielder. But when you get up to low A, which is the Midwest League, um, that all kind of changes now. First off, your first round draft picks who are there are pretty well put in their position. They know what they're going to do for their career. And the play is a notch up from short season A, which was the Northwest League.
Yeah.
And a specific situation, I saw a hard hit ground ball to the shortstop, and I go, okay, it's a base hit. I'm going to rotate up to third because I had a runner on first, and all of a sudden the ball's being thrown to second for a double play.
Things are different up here.
Oh yeah, and I was evaluated that game, and the evaluator said, in short season that play doesn't get made, but up here it does. So
Nate, how are you a different umpire now than you were 3 years ago when you started Coastal Plain League? And I'm more curious about your mindset. What about the mental approach now versus the mental approach then? What kinds of things have you learned?
Well, I kind of live my life on quotes and inspirational things like that. I always take the movie The Guardian with Kevin Costner, the Coast Guard movie, and he's telling a candidate in A school, the only difference between you and the victim is the attitude with how you enter the water. And when you go to umpire, it was the same thing for me when I started out. When I started out, I was the victim. I was scared. I had zero confidence in myself. I'd have a close play, and I would look to the dugouts to see, where's the manager at? Why isn't he coming out?
Yeah.
And now I make a close play, and I just carry on with my business. And if they want to come out, then I'll talk to them about the play, and I'll tell them what I had, which is a big difference from what I was my first year, where I was scared and had zero confidence.
And that just comes with time, right?
Absolutely, and that's one of the big things one of my supervisors said was you don't have the confidence now, but I promise. If you give it time, you're gonna get that confidence, and he was certainly right.
What about your partners, Nate? Can you think of one or two that you have just really worked well with, really gelled with, and who has helped you on your journey?
Sure. And you know what? I've had great partners. A lot of them are dear friends to this day, obviously, because I've had a 3-year career. But my first partner, Jeff Heyman, he was like a big brother to me in the Arizona League, and not even in baseball related things, just in life, with growing up and things like that. My second partner, Clay Williams, in the Appalachian League, he and I really gelled well. He kind of, again, not even with the baseball stuff, but just in life with growing up on the road and maturing and seeing things a little bit differently. Because he was from Nashville and I'm from California, and politically we didn't necessarily jive very well, but he opened my eyes to some things and even changed kind of how I think today. And then my third year, I actually had two partners. Kellen Martin, who was a first-year umpire, he had just worked his first extended spring professionally, and it was fun to work with him because I was a third-year guy in short season, and it was his first year, and to see how excited he was to work, was really refreshing. So that rubbed off on me quite a bit, and he also had family and friends up in the Northwest, so we We were on the Columbia River, wake surfing and
Right on.
just having fun on the weekends. And then my most recent partner was Bobby Tassoni, one of your former guests.
That's right.
Yep. He always made me laugh. He was a new father, and so he had no shortage of the dad jokes. I recall our first game in the league together. I'd just been promoted, just worked the plate, coming back in Dayton, Ohio, and I was 20 at the time. I hadn't turned 21 yet, and we passed a Chuck E. Cheese on our way back to the hotel after the game, and he turned to me and said, "Hey, Nate, you want to get a drink?" And pointing to the Chuck E. Cheese, and it wasn't all that funny at the time, but but looking back on it now, he always came with the jokes. I'll tell you, he taught me a lot, even on the field, about communicating and all sorts of stuff. He was a real aid to me.
So what about all these guys? What about Jeff and Clay and Kellen and Bobby? How would they describe you as a crewmate?
Well, I would think Jeff would describe me as the kid that always got him in trouble, in situations because I was so young.
Okay.
No, I would hope that they would think of me as a guy that they were able to get along with. Even if we weren't, jiving during the season or something wasn't quite right. I would hope to think that they would think of me as an umpire that they could talk to about anything, and I think I succeeded in that with all my partners.
That's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I always like to ask guys, Nate, about memorable experiences or big games that they've worked. Can you think of maybe a big game or two or a cool experience you've had these past few years that you can tell us about?
Sure. I think obviously when you think of memorable games, you think of your first game, and for me, it was in my first professional game in Arizona. I was on the bases in Goodyear with the Reds and the Indians. And I was able to have my family out because I'm from California, and they were all in the stands. They got to see my first professional game.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but outside of that, something that happened my first year and has not happened since, I got to work a no-hitter on the plate. And that's, at the time, you really didn't think it was, you knew it was special. But now that you're going through 3 years of professional baseball and you haven't had one since, you look back on it and wow, you really had something special. And so I've recently moved houses, and I was able to frame those lineup cards, and I have them hanging up on my wall. So that was a memorable experience.
Very cool. Good for you. What can you tell me about the game? You've talked about this 1,000 times already, I know, but I'm going to ask you again, Nate. What was the experience like, when you get into those middle innings? Are you mentally tough enough to just keep on calling this pitch, this pitch, this pitch, or do you start thinking about what's going on?
Well, I think that particular day, I don't remember thinking about the no-hitter, but I do remember, and I think the reason why is because it wasn't necessarily one pitcher throwing a no-hitter. It was in the Arizona League, so it was multiple prospects.
Okay.
So it was a combined no-hitter, and I think that helped me not think about it because now I'm dealing with lineup changes and things like that. But definitely walking off the field and when the last pitch was thrown and the last out was recorded, and you look up and you see a 0 in the hit column, it's definitely a special moment. I remember, it's funny. I remember thinking, in the middle innings, wow, number one, we're cruising.
Yeah.
Which trust me, does not happen very often in the Arizona League. But I remember the pitching was on point. I remember that it was both teams were pitching very well. I believe it was a no-hitter and the other team had like 3 hits.
Oh, you were cruising.
Oh yeah, we had like 3 hits the entire game. It was amazing. Definitely one of the most memorable for sure.
It's great to just be a part of a game like that, whether it's, a pro game down in Arizona or whether it's a Little League game in your hometown. Every so often you just run into a great ball game, and it's a privilege to be on the field for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of my greatest memories of umpiring weren't even necessarily in professional baseball. I remember a sectional game with a long rain delay, and the game went an hour and 15 minutes. The rain delay was longer than the game.
Wow.
Uh,
So, Nate, when we were visiting beforehand here today, you were telling me about an opportunity you had earlier this year to be an instructor, actually, at the Minor League Baseball Umpire Academy. And I was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit more about that, how that came to be, and what that experience was like for you.
sure. First of all, it was amazing. Um, Amazing in the terms that I got to teach. And I've always wanted to teach umpiring. That's why I did the little league clinics and other teaching opportunities. But to get the opportunity to teach at pro school and the academy where I was a student is definitely an opportunity of a lifetime. And I was humbled and honored to get invited back, and just to be around that group of umpires for in a month and just talk about umpiring and talk about how we can deliver a great product for the students to make them not only prospects for minor league baseball but just better umpires overall, and that even stretches further off the field to a better person. How you interact with your crew and things of that nature at umpire school. But yeah, it was a memorable experience. It's a lot of work, but it's also the best month probably of my career is spending that month down in Vero Beach with the umpire staff down there.
Tell me about a lot of work. I have a feeling that you instructors are putting in hours that students probably don't even know about just to make that happen for them.
Absolutely. We as minor league umpires at the academy, we do a lot of the heavy lifting. Um, the umpire development supervisors are more focused on running the program and the lesson plans and things of that nature. We as minor league umpire instructors are more focused on making sure everything runs smoothly, making sure that the fields are set up, making sure that the tests are passed back after they've been graded, making sure that the water coolers make it out to the field, the things of that nature. And then even when it comes to situations where fungo hitters have to set up certain plays, and they, there's a lot more that goes into it. There are nights where we may not leave the complex until 11:30 after our conversations, and the students may not necessarily know that. It just the camaraderie that you get from that group is unparalleled.
Nate, I like what you said, how you described your role there. You wanted to deliver a great camp for them. You want to teach them to deliver a great product when they go out to work games. And I like how you took it even a step further, is how you described it, helping them be a better communicator, helping them be a better person, a better crewmate, a better teammate. Can you talk a little bit about what that might mean to you? You are delivering a great product on the field and you're giving your best effort and working your best game during those 9 innings. But there's more to it than that, isn't there?
Sure, absolutely. There's more to that. It's everybody's goal that teaches at umpire school as a collective staff. It's not just one person or one entity. It's everybody involved. But going back to your question, yeah, it's definitely more than balls, strikes, safes, and outs. It's the person that is willing to stand up for what's right and what's correct, and a situation that comes to mind is again in the Appalachian League. My partner and I were put in the situation of having to overturn a walk-off home run.
Oh man.
Where it was a high fly ball, and the home run fence kind of had the Little League yellow piping on
Yeah.
it, and the fence behind it, which had a white canvas on it, which is not ideal because white is the color of a baseball, and
Right.
and so this high fly ball, was hit in the bottom of the ninth, and obviously by the home team, and it skipped off the yellow piping, and I was the base umpire and the plate umpire at the time. My partner had it hitting off the yellow piping and hitting the home run fence behind it, the recessed fence, and coming back in. And he, from where I was in the middle of the infield, I had pivoted, and in that situation, as important as the touch is at first base, when the ball is threatening an out of play area, it's all eyes on baseball. And from the angle I had it, it hit the yellow piping and bounced back. It didn't hit the home run fence. And Clay called it a home run. And you know what? From his angle, I probably would have had the same thing. And that's a limitation of the two umpire system. And
Right.
And in that situation, the ball obviously didn't leave the ballpark, and the manager came out from the Cardinals organization, and Clay and I got together, and I said, I'm 100% sure that it didn't leave the ballpark. It hit that yellow piping and bounced back, and we talked about it, and I have to give, we talk about being a stand-up person, for the humility for Clay to say, you know what, maybe you're right on this one. And I think I'd hope I would do the same if he came to me with the same information. And as a crew, we were able to get that play right, even though it was a very difficult situation to do it in. And the next day we got to the plate meeting, and both managers were very happy with us to get that play right.
That's a great story. And that took a huge amount of trust on Clay's part, didn't it? To hear you out and to overturn a call like that.
Absolutely. And I won't lie. I was, after that game, we actually went out to the home run fence, and we were bouncing, we were bouncing baseballs off the chain link to see if it actually could bounce off. And we were asking the guys that set off the fireworks, and no, I give Clay all the credit in the world for that situation. And I'm, super glad on his part that it was able to work out like that.
It's a compliment to both of you guys how that worked out. And I guarantee that somewhere Clay is telling that story to young umpires from the other side, and that it was a learning experience for him too. So that's very cool.
Well, and even on his side, I was 19 in my second year. Right. So imagine that situation too. But yeah, no, I give all the credit in the world to Clay, not only for that call, but for the season we had together.
So what does the future hold? This year was obviously a wash, and if all goes well, then we'll just be right on back at it next year as normal, and you'll be taking the field on the Midwest League. Tell me about yourself 3 years from now. What kind of goals do you have? And where do you see yourself over these next 3 years?
A lot of times people talk about being on track, and are you on track for where you're supposed to be and things like that. I have a little bit of a slower progression, and that's fine with me. Our supervisors say it's a marathon, not a sprint, and everybody's route in the minor league system is different. And it's great for me because I'm so young. I have time on my side. So 3 years from now, I really don't know where I'm going to be. If I'm, and I hope not to be in the same position, obviously. But if I'm in AA or starting out in AAA, or even being a first year AA umpire. That would be fine with me. There's a lot of trust that I have in the system, and I kind of believe that everything works out in the end. And I think the way my progression has been so far, every year progress as an umpire. And I feel like every year I get better. And I feel like if I keep doing that, everything will go fine.
Nate, it sounds like your history proves that. In your career so far, that's being recognized, and you're just making your way. And so encouragement to keep that attitude, buddy.
I certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, Nate, we're wrapping this up, and can't thank you enough. I hope to run into you again sometime soon. And best of luck to you with whatever the rest of this year brings. I'm sure you're keeping yourself in shape. You're keeping yourself fit. You're into the rule book as you should be, because opening day next year, whenever that comes, boy, that can't come soon enough, can it?
No, not at all. Trust me. That day's on the horizon, and I wish it would get here sooner. But at the same time, I think where we're at right now is the place we need to be. So
agreed. Well, this has been great, Nate. Thanks again. We'll talk soon, buddy.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason.
Well, there you have it. I sure hope you enjoyed getting to know Nate a little bit. I did. He's going to be a good one. It really caught my attention when he described how he was content with the pace of his advancement through minor league baseball, how he trusts the system and has enough confidence in himself that every year as he improves and gains experience and knowledge, he's becoming a better umpire. And when his number is called to step onto a major league field, man, he's going to be ready for it. I am looking forward to seeing that happen. Well, I'm so glad you joined us today. Whether you're in your car, working out in the yard, on a long walk, that's where I churn through a lot of the podcasts that I like to listen to. My hope is with every episode that you leave this place fired up. It is a joy for me to bring these terrific umpires to your listening ears. And now it's our job to make sure that the inspiration they provide makes its way through us to our own umpire communities. Let's do that together this week, okay? Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week on the Umpire Inspire podcast.